Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ozzy here. Welcome to the More Than a Pretty Face podcast.
I'm so excited to welcome former CEO and Chairman of Allergan, Brent Saunders, onto the podcast today. As an industry leader in aesthetics and pharmaceuticals, he has great insight for aspiring entrepreneurs. He's also the founder and chairman of a new business venture, Vesper Health, which is a SPAC company. And I don't know anything about that, so I'm excited to learn about that. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We met briefly at the Miami Cosmetic Surgery meeting right before the world changed and COVID hit. How's everything been for you? Are you starting to get back to normal life, or how's it been?
I live in Miami, which is where we met. And we've had a relatively straightforward approach. I guess our governor and mayor here have, I think, a fairly moderate approach to COVID. So I think it's worked out well. Certainly, being cautious and wearing a mask, but trying to go about life as normal as can be. And now I'm vaccinated, so I'm feeling really good. And
nice.
All good. Yes. How about you?
Same, my whole office is vaccinated, and that was a relief because I have a lot of out-of-town patients, and they would literally come straight from the airport with their luggage to my office. And once we got the vaccine, we just feel a lot more comfortable. I think more and more patients are getting vaccinated, and so I'm hoping normal life is around the corner.
Yes, I really believe it is.
It's been a busy year for you as well. So you sold Allergan this past year, right, to AbbVie for $63 billion and then started a new company. So you've been busy. You've had a busy year.
I have, but, we do miss Allergan. I miss the people more than anything, colleagues and customers in particular. But, that closed May 9th of last year. And then we were kind of in this pandemic world, as you said, and looking for normalcy. And, normalcy for me includes working and staying plugged in and connected and intellectually inspired. And so I didn't know what else to do. And I figured, all right, let's do a SPAC. And so I did it all from here. I never left the house. I did it all by Zoom. I raised the money and did the deal and did the pipe. And, we're going to de-SPAC soon. And, it was a great way to keep really busy during a time where you couldn't do a whole lot.
Nice. So what is a SPAC? I mean, I don't know much about it. What does that mean, a SPAC company?
Yeah, so SPAC stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. They're kind of in vogue now. I was a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of doing it, but now it seems like everybody's doing it, or there are 10 of them a week. And the idea here is that you go out and you raise money through an IPO, initial public offering, on the concept that you'll do something good with it. So it's what people call blank check companies. People are giving you, based on your reputation, on your track record, on your performance, on some high level theory of what you may do with the money to go do something.
This is investors to the SPAC company.
Which is just me, right? SPAC is a company. It doesn't have employees. It's just
employee of one.
Yes. And so I did that, and we raised a good amount of money through an IPO, about $450 million. And then I started to look for targets, what I could buy and what strategy I would have. And one of the things that always fascinated me when I was in the medical aesthetics world was the kind of the next step between aesthetics and beauty, what I would call beauty health. And that would include products and brands like Hydrofacial that are clinically validated, but don't really, need a board certified dermatologist or board certified plastic surgeon to deliver the service. Really, it's delivered by estheticians, many times under the supervision or in a med spa under the supervision, but could also be done at retail. As you know, Hydrofacial in the skin studios at Sephora. And so I really like that area in that it kind of democratizes aesthetics, because it's about $150, give or take. It could be $200 where you are, but it's a lower price point than an injectable. And it really is a feeder to the aesthetic markets. Once you get people into clinical facials, they tend to move upscale. And the data shows very much that they move upscale into aesthetics over time. And so it was just an area I really enjoyed. I didn't want to do anything competitive with Allergan because I have so much respect for my colleagues and customers there. And so I felt this was a really important segment that will continue to grow and do really well. And I love the brand Hydrofacial. And so they were willing to do the deal with me. And I did that. Then I had to go out and raise more money because it was more expensive than the money I raised. And ultimately, arriving on a deal valued at just over $1 billion.
Wow. Wow. Are you still connected with Allergan? Are you doing anything with Allergan at this point, or?
No, just checking in with friends.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not associated with them professionally, but I'm with them with my heart. So
how did you get to where you are now with Vesper and closing out Allergan and starting this new chapter? Tell us a little bit about your professional journey and what brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, so I've always kind of been in the biopharmaceutical healthcare space. I started my career with a company called Shearing Plow, which ultimately was acquired by Merck. But one of my first real big jobs was running consumer healthcare. So I ran brands around the world like Claritin and Dr. Scholl's and even Coppertone, Afrin, a whole bunch of consumer healthcare brands, and globalized those and ran them obviously in the United States, but China, Europe, Latin America. And then I went from there to Bausch & Lomb and became CEO of Bausch & Lomb. And I executed a turnaround over just about 5 years. And then I moved on to a company called Forest Lab, which was a CNS company, primarily focused on depression and Alzheimer's. So drugs like Lexapro and Namenda were our two biggest products. I then used that company to create what is today Allergan, or was Allergan. So I merged Forest with a company called Activist with a company called Allergan, changed the name of the company to Allergan. And so it took about 8 years to do all that, but
summed it up in 2 minutes, huh?
Yeah, right. That's the short version of it. It was a lot of fun. We had a great team, met so many great people around the world. We spun off a lot of companies. We launched a lot of new drugs, a lot of new products, and really, hopefully, help some patients and customers along the way.
Nice. So March 2015, you buy Allergan, the makers of Botox and injectables like Juvederm, and you create one of the world's top pharmaceutical companies. Tell us about how you and why you went about testing these products on yourself in front of hundreds of people on stage. Do you know the story? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah, of course.
I read that somewhere, so I was like, I have to ask him about this.
Yeah, so I think people who know me know that I'm very customer centric. I like to be out and about and visiting with customers and seeing how they use our products, whether they be the aesthetics products or the biopharmaceutical products that we made. And one of the things that probably comes from my consumer background, I always believe you test your products, and you really can't understand or experience something and put yourself in the mindset of your customers unless you're part of the product flow. And since I'm not a licensed physician, I can't inject. No one would let me inject them. So I figured I'm not qualified to do
Thank goodness.
Right. And so I figured, the only way for me to really experience some of these amazing brands and products was to let somebody do it to me. And, I didn't, like most probably guys of that age, I didn't think I needed it, but you know what? They work pretty well. I like those products.
And now you look, 30.
Right, exactly. I just keep I'm like Benjamin Button.
There you go. You just age backwards.
Yeah, exactly. That way.
So Allergan's a global company. It's in 105 different countries or something with 20,000 employees. What did your day look like? Like, did you go into the office and start making a to-do list? Like, what was your day? What was a typical day like when you went into the office at Allergan as the CEO?
Yeah, so I think the thing that probably makes me a little bit different as a CEO or chairman and CEO was I didn't have a typical day, and I didn't typically go into the office. As you said, we were in 100 plus countries, 20-some thousand employees all over the world, operations across the United States, bi-coastal headquarters in New Jersey and in Irvine, California. And so I spent most of my time traveling. I probably slept in, on average, if I just had to guess, 300 nights a year in a hotel for the last 15 years. The pandemic has been, a huge change in lifestyle because we can't travel
Talk about complete opposite, polar opposite.
I haven't had a routine and slept in one place for so long as what this pandemic has caused. But I really didn't have a typical day. So, I'd like to go out and visit our manufacturing facilities. I'd like to go out and be in the offices with our teams. I like to ride with our sales representatives. I like to go visit, customers. I had to spend time with investors and Wall Street types, partners, and potential business, development activities all over the world. So there was no typical. It was
always on the go.
Always on the go, and 7 days a week. To be fair, it was that type of job is a real commitment to work-life balance on the other end of the spectrum of what balance life is. Yes.
How did you manage that? How did you condition yourself and condition your mind and your body to be able to do that? Because it sounds like a pretty intense, and I read somewhere you would take 12 trips to Ireland a year or something. And that was just, that's where Allergan's based out of, right?
That's Ireland headquarters. And of course, that's also where we make Botox. So very important place for us, or was for us. Yeah, look, I tried to create a routine for me that worked. And so it was, small things. So I had a very strict commitment to go to the gym every morning, no matter where I was, no matter how little sleep I had. I tried to get my hour of exercise in every morning. And that just created some normalcy for me. I tried to prioritize the most important things. I tried to make sure I had an amazing team around me so that they could take on as many things without me having to micromanage as possible. And, just really was very committed to trying to do the right thing the right way and grow a business and do it well.
As an entrepreneur at heart, I worked for a large corporation for many years, and the environment wasn't really conducive to new ways of doing things or innovation. Just that spirit was non-existent. And I heard you talk once about how corporations need to do a better job of fostering innovations. And why is that so difficult for large corporations to do? And how can leaders promote that within their companies?
Yeah, it's a really, I think, serious issue. One of the things that I strongly believe is that big companies have a hard time innovating because bureaucracy is the greatest killer of innovation, and risk taking in corporations is frowned upon. That gets you fired or your bonus taken away or whatever it is. The reality is, taking risk and trying new things and cutting through bureaucracy or the way innovation is inspired and rewarded and encouraged. And so you have to create an environment that does that. And that's very hard to do in a big company. The bigger you are, the more process you have, the more committees you have, the more bureaucracy you have, the more inability to make, individual decisions start to become the norm. And so I tried to combat that every day at Allergan. I've talked about it all the time. I tried to get away from his committees. I wanted people to have individual responsibility, be able to make decisions. I encourage people to make mistakes, but be honest and open about the mistakes when they happen so we could learn from them. But it's really not easy. It's a constant battle. It's a constant communication. It's a constant follow-up with actions around let people do things and try things and fail. And there were some non-negotiables. Obviously, when you make things that are injected into people or to save their lives as medicine, the quality standards are not negotiable. No mistakes there. You can't break the law. There's no mistakes there. But within those big borders, right, there's a lot of opportunity to try things. And so
honest mistakes.
Yeah, or try things, right? I mean, I used to tell people all the time mistakes I made. I said, look, I remember way back when I was running consumer products and I had that brand I told you, Afrin, oxymetazoline you take.
Yes. Yeah.
And at the time, Oprah had this big thing called the neti pot. Do you remember that? You pour the saline solution up one nose and it comes out and drains the other.
No, but okay.
But anyway, so Oprah did this thing. This was 15 years ago, probably. And that became like the hottest way to try to deal with congestion. So I said, let's do isotonic saltwater Afrin. And we called it Afrin from the sea or something like that. I forget. Spent like $20 million launching this thing. I don't think one person bought it.
No way. Wow, that's an expensive mistake.
The biggest flop of all time. But, I talk about it all the time. And I learned a whole lot about how to think about trends and fads and when to launch a product, when not to launch a product, how to promote it from that. And that's part of who I am because I made that colossal mistake.
Yeah, you just have to go for it.
Yeah. So you got to, as a leader, you got to talk, like even in your office, you got to talk about sometimes you've tried some things, it didn't work. But, let's talk about why it didn't work and what we could have learned from it. So the next time we're faced with a similar decision, we do it a little better. That's all you can ask.
I love that because I've made a ton of mistakes since opening my practice. So that's reassuring coming from
I make them every day, by the way. So,
well, I'm learning. You do learn a lot, and you get yourself in places that you just, like you said, you just have to learn from it. What are some things that you would say that you swear by in business, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's aesthetics or whatnot? Are there a few things that you would say, I swear by this in any business? Because you've ran a lot of businesses at this point.
Yeah, great question. Off the top of my head, I would say some golden principles that really are important to me is always do the right thing, even if it costs you money. We all work in healthcare. It's a small circle, as you know. Everything that happens comes around back again. And your reputation and your integrity are always the most important asset you have. I don't care what level you're at, where you are in your career, maintaining your integrity and your honesty is so important. Second, I think it's about surrounding yourself with the best people possible and give them the runway to do the work they need to do. So many talented people I've met, such incredible talent, so smart, hardworking, micromanage the people around them, and they don't get that the exponential effect of having great people around them because no one wants to work for them, and people who do feel very confined in how they can work. And so, once you have good people, coach them, support them, mentor them, teach them, but let them run, give them some runway, and let them flourish. I think the third thing is you just have to work hard. There's no substitute for hard work. There's no shortcuts. There's nothing, very few, in fact, no one I know who's successful besides inheritance is lazy and really toiled very hard, even if they look like they're having a great time. And Elon Musk, people see him and they think he's great, but I guarantee that guy works 80, 90 hours a week.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so people don't realize, when the camera's off and the Twitter, Instagram are gone, how hard successful people really do work. And so those are probably the three kind of rules I try to live by.
Yeah, I love that. If you had to go back and give yourself advice 20 years ago, what would it be? What would you tell yourself?
Oh, good question. I would say, if I could go back 20 years, I would have taken more science. I would have learned more about science. I probably would have learned another language. Those are the two things as I sit here at 50.
What language would you learn?
Given that I live in Miami, Spanish, Espanol.
Never too late. You could pick it up.
I actually am trying a little bit to pick it up because the more people I think speak Spanish than English in this city. But I would really love to know that language. And, given that I work in life sciences and biopharmaceuticals, I'd wish I'd taken more chemistry and biology. I was an economics major. And then I went to law school and business school. I wish I had minored in a life science just to have that basic building blocks and fundamentals.
Well, never too late. You can learn a lot on YouTube now, and I feel like Google is just replaced a lot. I could have learned a language. In fact, I actually thought about it. I thought about three things during the pandemic. Do I learn to play guitar, learn Spanish, or take online science classes, or do I do a SPAC? obviously, you know which one I chose. Yes.
Because I'm addicted to business, but
that's your passion, huh?
20 years from now, someone will ask me the question again. I should have said during the pandemic, I should have learned guitar and Spanish or something.
One day, you're gonna learn guitar and speak Spanish. And so we're gonna wrap things up, and we'll do like a rapid fire question so that people get to know you better. So you go to Starbucks. What do you order?
Dunkin' Donuts. I haven't been in a Starbucks in like 10 years. I hate it.
You do? Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you order at Dunkin' Donuts? You go to Dunkin' Donuts. Black coffee.
Black coffee. Yep. I'm very boring.
Very boring. What are your hobbies outside of work?
A little bit of golf. And I just started fishing. So
best vacation spot?
Best I've ever been on was Africa. Safari in Africa.
Nice. Guiltiest pleasure?
Probably a cigar and whiskey after dinner.
Nice. Do you have a hidden talent? It's not guitar yet.
don't think, I can play piano, so maybe that's my hit.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's good. Cocktail of choice, although you may have answered this already.
No, my favorite cocktail is a dirty martini.
And lastly, how can people find you online? You're on social, right?
I'm on social. So Instagram, Brent L. Saunders on Instagram, and Brent Saunders, I believe, on Twitter. I have a LinkedIn account, but it's not, I don't know how to use it. So that was run by Allergan, and they handed it over to me. I never touched it.
Are you active online? Are you active in the social media platforms, or are you on Clubhouse? That's the new one I hear about.
I did do Clubhouse for a little bit, but it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy that. I don't like listening and talking to people.
Yeah, I agree. I've tried to I'm on there too, but every time I go on there, I just have to leave because it's not enough stimulation for me. It's just audio and people talking. And yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Instagram, I'm very active on, and it's always been me. So
you run your own Instagram?
I always have, yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
I help with the videos, or somebody's helped me with the pictures, but I
love your content though on Instagram. You have a lot of great. I remember when I started my practice. Now it's going to be 3 years. I really enjoy learning from your content as a leader and how you ran a business. And because as doctors, we don't know anything about business. I mean, we love the science and, that sort of thing. And then I started a business and I'm like, oh, what do I do? How do I structure it? How do I lead? How do I deal with employees? And I found the content really insightful and really helpful. So thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
I took a little pause I did minimal during the pandemic, but I'm just starting to think about getting a little bit more active again.
Well, I think you have a lot to offer with your years of experience. And I think you have a great way of connecting with an audience and connecting with people but a lot of pharmaceutical CEOs and executives really don't. I mean, you're one of the few CEOs that I see, active on the platforms and putting that content out.
To be honest, I did it because I think for me, and Instagram being in aesthetics or beauty health was the single best way to stay real-time connected with customers and practices and the physician community and the nurse community. I mean, because everybody's posting what they do.
Right. You could probably learn a lot of science and a lot of things about the procedures just, being on there.
Right. Because as you know, we had to stay within the label, but when I was at Allergan, but you didn't have to. And so,
right.
If I watched some of the stuff that people like you were doing, and, I learned a lot. It was very helpful for me, very insightful. Yeah.
All right. Nice. Well, I won't keep you. I know you have things to do. It's been really great connecting with you. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.